Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So yeah, last night was very, very funny. I went to bed around 10 and then got up around 12, drove like 8 miles away, and then came back, went back to sleep. Was probably in a snit because I don't like interrupting my sleep. And I don't like interrupting my digestive processes because I know overnight my body goes through a reparative type of process. And so when you get up and do something or you work overnight, it really does tax the body. So I'm gonna find a different way to do stuff next time. But I really try to stay consistent and on a routine, at least with my body, because I want to make sure the processes don't get confused. I don't throw off my circadian rhythms. I don't throw off anything. I want to keep things predictable as much as I can. So, and they say that if somebody like works all night long or they're doing all night shift, a certain percentage of pregnant women have miscarriages when they work overnight. So there's probably something to be said that maybe well, I mean, if you have to work overnight because that's your job, then make sure you get plenty of sleep and have your reparative, restorative processes give them adequate time to go through the process to get everything out of your system. And then when you wake up, you eliminate or you do whatever you got to do to make sure that your body is right on schedule, right on line. And so I'm always very, very aware of that because I know how the system, my body works, and I want to make sure it stays consistent. So it was kind of interesting, but I still stayed on schedule. I still pooped this morning, so that was great. I still got up around 7:30. Yeah, it's after 8 right now, but I still got up around 7 or so. So anyways, even though I had to drive real quick last night to take my husband to work, um, it didn't really throw the rhythms off too much. So I'm happy with that. So which means the body can bounce back from whatever interruption of homeostasis. So yeah, last night, Kevin, he sent me a video on that vegan girl that ate meat or ate fish, and he was trying to make the connection because she was saying, "Good morning, Krista," that she wants to eat meat so that way she can get pregnant and have a child because she is a vegan, vegetarian, and she stopped her period. And so from what I took of Kevin's synopsis or Kevin's quick synopsis, and it wasn't like, "Hey, morning, Jane." It wasn't like he was meaning to make an inference, but the inference is there. And sometimes our subconscious works without us even knowing it. We will have agendas. Humans have agendas. And when you have an agenda in the background, even though it's not fully like overt and you're not being completely obvious, what you look at, what you say, what you do will then kind of tell people what your agenda is because you still have that belief system. So anyways, what he was trying to say was that her being a vegan vegetarian and her like stopping her period or doesn't have a period or whatever it is, he said, that she experienced. She ate meat and her period came back, or that she wants to get pregnant, so she ate meat so she could menstruate. So he's trying to make the assertion that being a vegan vegetarian is a direct correlation to her amenorrhea. And I'm like, okay, first of all, this is what I wanted to point out to him and to all of you who have probably the same idea if you've ever listened to her YouTube video, which I didn't. But just because you stop your period after you got your period, let's say, yeah, you don't get your period till you're 19 years old. So that's amenorrhea. And then you get your period, you're eating meat, you're doing all this stuff. And then you're like, oh, I got to change my diet. I got to do this. I got to do that. And then you go eat vegan, vegetarian. And you could also be very malnourished as well. You also could have other underlying conditions. And then you stop your period. It doesn't mean, like he understood, because he did say, well, I know you're going to say that correlation doesn't mean causation, but the fact that she kind of said that having your period is a sign of unhealth, and then she wanted to have a baby, that's why she ate meat. Well, she wouldn't be a good representation at all that I would ever really use as someone saying, oh yeah, this vegan vegetarian who said that she's all healthy, because we don't know if she's healthy or not. We don't, obviously she's not, because she's in the matrix. She's a vegan vegetarian. She's probably malnourished, missing minerals. And two, when you stop your period because you changed your diet, it means that you could have a very low body percentage of fat. And Kevin doesn't really exactly believe the whole thing with the percentage of fat, but when there are runners and athletes who run so much to where their body is like maybe 9%, 8%, 5%, whatever body fat, they essentially stop their period. So you could be so lean. It doesn't mean that you're healthy, but you could be so lean that the body then shuts down that part because you don't have enough nutrients. You don't have enough anything to feed a baby. Now, as far as what I'm think with my theory with amenorrhea and menstruation, here's another twist to it that we have to consider, because I can be very black and white because I'm trying to prove a theory. But maybe once you start your period, could you ever really stop it altogether, or could it be just intermittent? Okay. I mean, we hear about the Druids and them doing their fertility rituals every full moon. And so it seems like, every full moon, the periods are flowing and everyone's acting crazy and hormonal. And that seems to be the practice way back when. But now we're bringing in Jilly juice. So this is a factor that none of us has ever studied or experienced, because this is so new. This is only within the last couple of years. And so right now, I mean, I didn't have my period for 60 days before. I had my period for like 69, 49 days. Then it was 30 days. I can't tell you exactly. I really can't what the end result is when it comes to menstruation and Jilly juice. But I know that when when you are very healthy, like I'm pretty much healthy. I'm not crazy, amorous, and I really don't have a biological clock that's ticking. I don't feel like I need to have a baby, and I'm not actively trying to have a baby. So just from what I'm feeling and just from what information I'm getting from all of you who are on the J juice, and you're seeing changes in your hormones when it comes to being amorous or nesting, or some guys happen to not do what they usually do with their right or left hand anymore. Okay, so there is some correlation that when you change your biochemistry, the need to procreate isn't there. To how far it goes as far as menstruation, I was taking it to the extreme. Maybe women, or whoever has a uterus and a reproductive system, a female reproductive system, may if they are 100% healthy, they may stop their period altogether, or, I mean, that's just a theory, or they may have it intermittently like their predecessors. Now, even back then, like even in some of these indigenous groups, like in Africa or other places where they're not hit by modern technology and modern medicine, they don't have their period that often, or it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it happens maybe every quarter or something like that. And it's so hard to say what is influencing that, because they are taking herbs, they are on a very different diet than where we are. They don't have, of course, all the technology and things to influence their menstruation. They don't have other people. Like, I mean, my dog is the only other influence, the hormonal influence as far as women cycling together. But my dog, I mean, she's been on the J juice for a few years now, or like a year and a half, maybe two. And I mean, if the J juice can regenerate cells, and she's spayed, okay? She had a fatty tumor that used to get infected. And remember, some of you maybe saw me from a couple of years ago deal with that fatty tumor before I just developed the protocol. And now that fatty tumor is like grown over with hair. I mean, the thing is still there, but it doesn't get inflamed anymore, okay? So I don't know if it's a nipple or if it's a fatty tumor. It's not a nipple because there's hair growing on it. So it's some kind of benign tumor now. But before, it used to get red and all of that. So I'm thinking that with her being on the protocol and her regenerating good skin cells, because her skin feels like very, very soft and very smooth and very healthy. Her fur feels like when you go to like Home Depot and you go buy a rug like we did the other day, and the rug was so soft and so silky and so sleek. It was just like, oh, you just can't help but put your face in a certain kind of rug. Her fur is the same way. So the fact that she's really like changed as far as just her outside health and her inside health too. She went through healing symptoms with triggering hip dysplasia healing symptoms, as well as potential stroke healing symptoms. So why couldn't then she regrow the snippets or reverse the spay that she had when she was in the shelter? But she's not going into estrus. She hasn't been in heat at all ever, because I mean, when I first got her, she was spayed, so of course she wouldn't be in heat at all. But now that she's on J juice, wouldn't you think that her reproductive system would reverse whatever spay that she endured when she was in the shelter, and then to potentially go into heat? No, she's not going into heat, and we're coming up on spring. Will she go into heat down the road? I can't tell you, but right now she's not. And yet her fur and her skin and all of her different predispositions that was in her genetic line, the mutations, she's reversed a lot of them. So I don't see why the body would then discriminate against her reproductive system and reverse the spay. So, so it remains to be seen. But that's just another theory out there that maybe once you induce menstruation, the female body can't stop unless it's breaking down or it's not getting enough nutrients and minerals, and there's an underlying condition. And that vegan vegetarian has an underlying condition, because there is no vegan vegetarian out there in the matrix that is healthy. They're all aging with issues. Okay. So I mean, and I know Kevin didn't mean to make that inference that being a vegan vegetarian and then recognizing that having a baby would come from eating crappy food and then inducing a period. But just because she made that connection doesn't mean that she's a representation of good health. So I wouldn't make that connection necessarily. So, but I wanted to bring that up because he did want me to not that he wanted me to talk about it, but he wanted to at least find things out there that would kind of endorse my thought process. But I am very careful who I collaborate with, okay? What examples I bring in. And that's why I get very, very intense when anybody tries to change up what it is that I'm trying to get across, because it sounds inflammatory. Okay. And so, yeah. So, I make revelations like I did yesterday, and I know that some of the things that I say can seem offensive, but I don't want to really rehash too much, but I haven't really talked about this. But yeah, I use certain words to explain certain things that happen in the population. It's like I'm not treating all of you as individuals. I do on an individual basis on my Facebook, but when I reference the general human population, you're all mutated, myself included. I can't tell you if I have reversed all my mutations. I have no idea what I was originally meant to be. I have no idea how many years of mutations that I've endured, at least me, not even so much my culture or where I came from in Vietnam, but I have no idea what it is that I have in store as far as once I peel back all the mutations. And I make jokes. I mean, I made a joke about, when in the name test that they have where you play a game and then they say, oh yeah, this is Jillian at 70. She's Caucasian bodybuilder. And we know obviously that's, that's a little far-fetched, but anything is possible. I mean, who was Jesus? Was he African American? Was he white? Was he Mexican? Was he Ethiopian? Do we actually know? We just have what people think is what Jesus looks like. Their perception based upon all the stories that are out there. So You know, so I reference the human population, or reference the anomalous characteristics, and every characteristic is anomalous. It's a mutation, but there are different degrees of mutations. There are very severe mutations, and then there are very benign, superficial mutations that could get reversed like that. Just like yesterday, I had an upset of homeostasis when somebody asked me for, somebody's picture, a before and after picture, when I didn't offer it up to begin with. And so, yeah, I got triggered. That was a mutation. Okay. But I saw the mutation for what it was. I saw that was a pathogen. So I'm going to reference the person that asked me that question, even though I know she probably didn't have any intentions, but it showed me her character as far as her thought process regarding this protocol. Because first, when somebody asks, well, she didn't say it off the bat. She just said, hey, why don't you show a before and after picture of this testimony to make it seem more credible to those that are, well, she didn't say to those that are skeptical. That came later that I deleted. But no, she's like, well, because it would make it more believable. That's what kind of she was inference. And then I was like, oh my God, this reminded me of the group. I kind of got into a diatribe. You saw the video. You can look at the videos down my timeline. And I laid it in to her because it was like, I'm going to expend this energy, this hormones, to make a point. Okay, so it could be then out there. Everybody knows if you ask for more than what I'm giving you when it comes to a testimony, you will be blocked and deleted. And when you're asking for proof, such as a picture that really doesn't tell you too much unless you have it in the right context, then you are not a candidate for the protocol. And so yeah, I was recognizing that this person had a mentality that all she could look at is superficial stuff to make her decisions, but not truly understand this protocol for what it really is. And then that's a dangerous thing, because then she'll do the protocol and then be wondering, why do I have all these symptoms, when she only looked at a picture to then give her the impetus to then do the protocol. I don't want those types of people on my protocol. So I recognized that she was not a candidate, but I didn't have it in so many words. I had to go through my histrionics and say, oh my God, are you kidding me? You're going to take a picture and make that contingent upon you or somebody else? But then, which I didn't read till later after I was done with my diatribe, that she's like, well, I'm just asking for a friend. It's not for me. It's not like I don't believe in the protocol. It's just for other people who don't. I'm like, who are you to go and try to have me convince people who I have no idea their intention, and it's not my job to convince your friends or the skeptics out there. It's your job to learn and understand this, and don't worry about other people. And that's where I went on the next thing about why our society is so fucked, is because people are worried about what other people are doing. They're not taking care of themselves. And that was a pure example of her scapegoating somebody else. It wasn't anyone specific, but she was saying, oh, I was asking for a friend. Well, whatever. Don't worry about your friend. They'll take care of themselves. And if you can't explain it, then get my book and read it and give it to them, and then they can figure out for themselves if this is credible or not. Okay? So I went through a mutation because it was a lot of hormones being brought up, because it was a fight or flight response. I was triggered. It was, oh my God, I'm in imminent danger type of response. So how do I reverse that mutation? I removed the triggers, and I removed her. Because I knew when she came back and said, well, it wasn't for me. It wasn't like I didn't, it's not like I don't believe in the protocol. It's other people that don't. Well, then, sorry, but I'm not going to go back and forth and convince somebody's friends through them. If you believe in the protocol, then you go and tell them where to get the info. If you believe in the protocol, and you would know why exactly you're doing the protocol, because you would have already had an experience with it, that you wouldn't have to ask us for a before and after picture for somebody that did not want to put out their face or their name, because we have so many online trolls, and we are repeating history by demonizing elements of the day, and we're demonizing people of the day, and myself included. I have been doing that, okay? But calling things what they are, mutations, is not a demonization in of itself. It's just calling what something is what it is, okay? But here's the thing of what I am going to work on is to say, okay, cannabis has a role in our society. It's a shortcut. It is a poison. Okay. Now I'm not demonizing it because no, it's an antibiotic. Now, there are people that want to do shortcuts because they really, truly don't understand their body. So yes, we do have a place for people who don't want to do anything too deep. They just want to do a shortcut. They're only worried about one of 200 symptoms. And so when somebody takes cannabis or any type of holistic or allopathic protocol, it's because they're only worried about the here and now. They don't look at the long-term negative consequences of their actions. And that speaks to a lot of people in our society. And there is a market for short-term thinking people, for reactive people. There is a market for that. Now, that's not demonization. That's calling it for what it is. When you deal with cannabis or any type of antibiotic or any cures that are out there, you are a very short-term thinking person because all you care about is the here and now. You don't care about what it's going to do to you in the long run, that it's actually antibiotic. Now, if you've never heard of Jilly Juice, you've never heard of my videos, you've never been exposed to this stuff, then you wouldn't know any better because you're only listening to what was told to you from many, 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 many years. But now that you know about Jilly Juice, do you have that excuse anymore of ignorance? Not anymore. Saiban, you don't have an excuse of ignorance when it comes to Jilly Juice. Jackie, Jamie, Dahlia, all of you guys have no excuse anymore to claim ignorance on the shortcuts that are out there. And so when you promote shortcuts out there, you're promoting somebody poisoning themselves so they can get a very temporary stay of execution, but in the long run, it's actually going to do them harm. Now, where Jilly Juice and the marrying of Jilly Juice and the allopathic holistic is if you actually integrate Jilly Juice along with those short-term protocols, because we know that pain is involved and we have to do something to help mitigate the pain a little bit, but you still have to experience it or else you're not going to heal. Okay. But we also have to take care of our daily lives. So how do you balance out dealing with the pain and then dealing with, taking some kind of painkiller, which does stop certain hormones? And then how do you manage your life and still get the benefit juggling all three? Some of you can juggle all three and still get the benefit. Others of you are going to pick a shortened lifespan. Other of you are not. You can do any kind of antibiotics at all with the protocol. You'll just deal with the pain and deal with it and then be wonderful and take it in its most concentrated form. You'll get the healing symptoms. You have this support system to allow you to do this and everything's wonderful. So there is a place for everybody, but I'm not going to demonize and what does demonize mean? I mean, let's look up the word demonize. And so that way we can really understand what it means in the most, I don't know, dictionary sense. Portray as wicked and threatening. Okay, so, and this is what we do in our society when it comes to certain elements. We demonize as wicked and threatening like fluoride. Alex Jones, he is huge in the demonization of very specific singular elements because everybody is afraid of poisons out there. So he has capitalized on the word pollutant, chemicals, poisons, contaminants, adjuvants, the additives like in the vaccines. I mean, he has capitalized on taking and compartmentalizing the periodic tables. Okay. And then he's saying, oh yeah, of course, when you have too much of any heavy metal, it's going to cause an imbalance. But it doesn't mean that fluoride is one of the biggest babies that I learned from Alex Jones that was like demonized. No different than the Jews being demonized back in Germany, no different than the Hispanics and the Mexicans being demonized right now, not because of the whole thing with the immigration laws. It's because people are afraid that they're going to, I don't know, there's like gang members and unsavory people. But we are demonizing, we have demons of the day. We have the enemy de jour. So the Arabs and the Muslims are being demonized. Look at all the different, look at out there in the UK. Now we have people who are mutated in the Muslim religion. We have people who are mutated in the Hispanic culture. We have people who are mutated in the Asian culture. We have people who are mutated in the Caucasian culture. But it doesn't mean that the whole culture as a whole is bad. It means that somebody took a doctrine and spun it to fit their agenda. And that's no different than what Alex Jones has done. He took an element that your body actually needs in trace amounts and demonized the shit out of it, and then hawked all of his pills, powders, and supplements. Now, I'm not going to demonize the pills, powders, and supplements because all of these poisons have a role. It's for the short-term thinking person who doesn't understand their body. Okay. And so when you're taking the pills and the powders and the supplements and the detoxes and the cannabis and all of that stuff, it's because you're looking for a temporary state of execution. And then you're going to take science and twist it and market it to then fit your agenda. Okay. Yeah. So you cured your cancer, but yet you still have 200 other mutations that you still have yet to deal with. So what are you going to do? Keep taking cannabis for the rest of your life until you die? And when you're taking cannabis forever for all of your issues, guess what it does? It builds up more antibodies and it agglutinates, and then it turns into other issues. And this is why Business Insider, NBC, CBS, Fox are all now warning the general population with all of this marijuana legalization, the negative ramifications. Now, why is such a debate is because not everybody is going to experience some of these negative consequences from the pot. Or they'll say, oh yeah, it's GMO pot. That's why people are getting all this psychosis stuff. I mean, they'll find a way to blame other things and not fully understand the real chemical composition of pot and what it actually does to the body. So right now, so we have a lot of very mutated people who are going to be on the pot, who are then going to sustain some major consequences like psychosis, like other types of issues. And they won't make, and then what's going to happen is they're going to be like, oh yeah, Bayer and Monsanto took over pot and they poisoned it. And so that's why, and I'm going to go sue Bayer and Monsanto, not realizing that the pot actually is, when you get it out in your garden organically, it still has the same chemical composition, if not more, okay, than what you get in a lab. The lab and the garden are no different because it's the same elements with the very same intention. Okay, so, that's not demonizing, just so you guys know. Calling something mutated, calling the population that acts stupid mutated is not demonizing. It's saying this is what's going on. We have a very mutated population. Every generation is compounding more mutations, and we're seeing more psychosis, seeing more anomalous behaviors, more violence. We're seeing people that we thought were perfectly normal go and snap. Well, they weren't perfectly normal, because there are some people that you can kind of red flag and your gut is like, ugh, I'm not sure about this person. My gut feeling about this person is, whoa, there's something off. Okay. And then they do something crazy like kill their whole family. Would you have seen that a long time ago? It may have happened. Yeah, because it's hard to say how these mutations that get transferred from mother to child manifest in the next generation. Okay? It's like a perfect storm. When you have someone that is that psychopathic killer that snaps one day on their family and there was no sign of it, that is a perfect storm. But when you actually look at the background of this person, you would see, okay, now I could see probably where this came from. But if you didn't have any of that evidence and you only looked at what their behavior was maybe, a couple of years before they actually did it, they were just an upstanding citizen. They worked at a car lot, and then they transferred over into the oil industry. They met a girl online. They fell in love, had 3 kids or had 2 kids, one on the way. And then he finds some mistress that promised him the world through her vagina, and then he just went nuts. And so, and that says a lot. When you are going to throw away your whole world over a piece of, it means you are truly mutated, because now you're chasing that high, because some people can be drugs to other people. There are some major hormonally imbalanced people that do have an effect on somebody, and it could be an anesthetizing effect. It's a drug effect. Some people are like methamphetamines to other people. Oxytocin is a very strong drug, which is a hormone that gets elicited in the body when it's around reproduction, or when it knows that it's on a death trajectory and it needs to go procreate. Okay? So, so calling our population that right now is exhibiting some very, very disturbing behaviors mutated is not demonization. It's calling it what it is. And let's look up other. So someone's saying, like, well, could you find a friendlier version of the word mutation? So let's look up other words that would have this as a synonym of mutation. And you tell me if this reaches you or not. Because when you find synonyms, they will then take away the real true meaning. Synonym of mutation. Synonym of mutation: alteration, change, variation, modification, transformation, metamorphosis. I don't like metamorphosis. Transmutation, transfiguration, sea change, evolution, transmogrification. That sounds like something from Calvin and Hobbes, a cartoon strip that I used to read as a kid. Transmogrify, like what the hell? Okay, none of those words hold the punch that mutation holds. Okay, so what is mutate? Well, actually, yeah, I have the I already have the definition that I put out there on Facebook. Okay, so I'm going to read it really quick, because this really gets to the heart of the matter. And I'm not trying to beat around the bush. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. If somebody is offended by the word mutation, they will be offended by the protocol. They shouldn't be doing the protocol. And your intent is not to get everybody in your life on the protocol, because not everybody can handle the protocol because it's too revolutionary for them. You have to be discerning. You got to really pick and choose, but you give people the opportunity. But if somebody gets offended by the word or what I say, then they are not a candidate for it. They don't need to be on it, because believe me, the healing symptoms and having to actually heal from all of the mutations is going to be far more offensive than what I say on Facebook. Far more offensive. And then they will hold you accountable for you getting them into this without giving them the proper vetting. Not everybody's a candidate. Okay? So what is a mutation? A mutation is a change that occurs in our DNA sequence, either due to mistakes when the DNA is copied, or as a result of environmental factors such as UV light and cigarette smoke. Now, those are only 2 examples. But when something is copied, okay, let's look at Down syndrome. So when you have a mutation of a chromosome, well, when you have Down syndrome, it makes a copy, 1 or 2 or 3 copies, 1 or 2 copies of a specific chromosome that houses like thousands and thousands and thousands of genes. And then we don't induce autophagy, which is the purging out. We're not allowing the calcineurin hormone to actually purge out that mutated chromosome that holds like thousands and thousands of genes. So it keeps that mutated copy and then grows another copy. Okay, that's a mutation. When you are exposed to cigarette smoke, like I am with my husband, but I always fix the mutation so it doesn't bug me. I don't worry about that. Well, guess what? Yes, any kind of environmental factor, whether it's pollution, whether it's just Somebody with an agenda that you recognize comes in and tries to influence you, that's a mutation when you react to it. This is why I keep my circle very small. And even with people that I do kind of bounce ideas off of, I am very, very cognizant of what it is their agenda is. I know exactly where they're coming from, and I don't get influenced too much by Kevin because he has an agenda, but it's not a bad agenda, but he comes from a very specific perspective. He's coming from the energy healing world, okay? He comes from the vegan vegetarian world, which is perfectly fine because he's a great representation. And he's doing J juice. So he understands that. But I know where he comes from. So it's always in the back of my mind whenever he makes suggestions. I always think about it. Then I look at what he's suggesting. And then this is, then I say yay or nay. Sometimes I love his idea. Sometimes I'm like, no, that's just not where I'm going. And I do that with not everybody offers up their suggestions because they know that if it's unsolicited, I'm going to take offense to it. Some people I've given enough allowance to where they feel comfortable to do that. And then I'm like, no, that's not appropriate. That's not what I've asked for. Please don't offer up a suggestion on like changing a word. Okay? Because yes, I will make admissions out there and say, okay, I was once wrong about this and I will now change my ways. But it doesn't mean that if you see something that's wrong with me, that then it gives you license to say, okay, well, here's another thing that you can change. No, if I see something is wrong with something, I will admit it. If I don't see anything wrong with what I'm saying, like the word mutation, I'm not going to change it. And it's not because, I'm being stubborn. It's because mutation is like the word mutation paints 1,000 pictures. It gets to the root of the matter. I'm not dressing it up with change. Oh, yeah, the changed people out there. How is that going to make an impact? When I'm trying to say we have mutated people out there with very anomalous, disturbing behaviors. Would any other word really get to the point and describe my actual intention? No, it'll then take it to a different context. See, words create worlds. You can have synonyms, but those synonyms are actually different contexts for different belief systems. So when that word transmogrification, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, wow, that reminds me of Calvin and Hobbes. And the whole cartoon strip, transmogrify. No, that's a joke. I'm not going to say, well, the transmogrified people out there, that just sounds stupid to me. Now, you may like it, but then, hey, that's going to speak to all of, thank you, Jackery. That's going to speak to all the Calvin and Hobbes people who are like, titillated by it or giggling over the word transmogrify. Oh, she's trying to be like Calvin and Hobbes. No, I mean, what's the other word that I would never use? Variation. That doesn't make sense. All the variated people. No, that doesn't hit home. That actually is in a total different context. So no, my words have a very specific context and I come from a very specific context. I'm not trying to come from the energy healing world, the chakra world. I'm not coming from there. If you're coming from there, fine. But understand my words and then find the similarities in your world, whether it's Catholic, Christian, chakra healing, yoga power stuff, or Jewish, or Satan, or whatever, okay? Take my science and then find a similar thing that you can then understand where I'm coming from. Because I'm not going to then speak the same language because I'm not trying to confuse people. I'm trying to find a foundational standpoint that everybody can get on board with. And science is that foundational standpoint. That is a perspective that everybody could get behind. And it's easy to study. Now, someone says, oh, well, I don't speak in the science way. I speak from the energy healing way, and I can't possibly. Well, then you know what? Then this protocol isn't for you because you can't learn a perspective that has to speak a very universal language that everyone must understand. Now, no, I don't speak Arabic. I don't speak Japanese, so I can't translate into other languages. But it's bad enough trying to translate it into the different categories and belief systems with all the religions and all the belief systems with the chakras, the healings, and the religions and the different spirituality stuff. I mean, that's bad enough. And now trying to translate into a different language, that's something for later. Once I get the English version ironed out to where then I can still speak to all the different listings out there, then it'll be easy to translate it into another language, because then it would already be taken care of. The language, the different language is the only barrier. That's just one barrier. It's then, what the real issue is trying to speak to, because even in one language, they will still have the chakra energy healings. Like in Vietnam, they're all talking about the energy healing and all this, or Confucius in China. So they'll have the same categories that in English, but it's just said in a different language. So I got to get all the different categories understanding this universal platform, which is a science platform that everybody in the world does go and do symposiums on. When you go to these international meetings on World Health Organization, well, like the UN or other types of global agencies, they all speak the same language of science. So science is the universal thing. Okay, so that's where I'm speaking from. No, I'm not going to play your game of changing my words because you're offended. Not going to happen. And if somebody is offended, they don't need to be doing the protocol. I don't want them. Okay, so you guys got to be discerning who it is you bring on too. So you can still introduce this as like, throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. But be careful who it is that you are giving your time to, giving your energy, giving your hormones to, because some people will suck the life out of you. And so, and those are the ones that want to change or say, oh, I don't like this or I don't like that, or they're too worried about the plastic in the sea salt. Well, first of all, J-juice, there is no sea salt on J-juice. And second of all, if there is microscopic plastic pieces, guess what? You're taking in microscopic plastic bullshit in your food supply. When you're inhaling all of the parasite eggs in a windy day, okay, guess what? Your immune system will take whatever foreign object, even a microscopic or little plastic balls. I've had some stuff in my crap that was like from like an egg roll that looked like it was plastic. I had plastic crap in my egg roll that came out of my poop. But guess what? My system took it all out. So if you think that there's plastic or microscopic stuff that's in the pink salt, guess what? Your immune system will take it out. It's not something to worry about. If there is sand in your salt, oh my God, sand, it's not going to hurt you. Your immune system, your body is going to purge out what doesn't belong, the foreign objects. So there are some people that will then focus on the most stupidest things because they don't really understand their body and they're not willing to learn. So you don't waste your time on them. If they're focusing on the little stupid things like sand particles in salt, in sea salt, and not even it's like pink salt, but sea salt, and that's what they're worried about with the J-juice, move on. They can do whatever in the system. They're happy where they're at, focusing on the stupid stuff in the world, demonizing something of the day. That's where they're happy. Let them be happy. Don't try to change them. They're not worth your energy at all. And that's why I'm so I'm very, very careful who it is I let in my world. I'm very careful who it is I entertain. I don't like private messages. And so if I don't answer your private messages or respond in some way, it's because I don't really need to see that article. It's not of importance to me at this point. I get too many of them. And what happens is when you get influenced by too many people, you get distracted and you lose sight of the real goal of what you're looking for. And I'm so happy that I was able to shed the people in my life that were trying to hold me back. Because if I really did truly want to be influenced by people around me, I would have never gotten this far as like the hormones and making the connection with religions and the holistic, the healing chakras, the crystal energy people. I wouldn't have made those connections because a person way back a while ago didn't want me to focus on the religion. She said that it was gonna offend too many people. I was gonna lose my audience. Well, you know what? I would rather lose people that don't get this, and than scare away the ones that could get this. Okay, so if my focusing on religion and making those connections is offensive, then this protocol isn't for you anyways, because it's too revolutionary. I keep moving discovering and making revelations. And if you can't keep up, then there's no point in you being around me. So I have shed a lot of people who are stuck in certain religion, stuck in certain belief systems. And I've asked people to stop commenting sometimes on my Facebook because they're still stuck in their belief system. Maybe they are contributing in another way around JJ's, but then they're still stuck in I don't know, reproduction. Okay, so be just take some cues. Know who you should shed in your life, because those people are sucking the life out of you and sucking the potential out of you. Keep people around that are keeping you moving forward. And if you have to be alone, be alone. That's okay, because guess what? When you're alone, you start creating your world. You start strategizing. You start thinking of things to make your life better and the world better around you. You're not distracted by somebody else's drama, somebody else's activism. Okay? So this is the things that I've learned. Okay? I'm alone a lot, and I love it. When my husband's here, my husband breaks up my day. He breaks up I don't say monotony, but it's all about balance. My dog keeps me balanced because she gets me outside, or I'd be here like looking at stuff and being totally lost in tunnel vision. So my dog makes me go outside because she has to poop and pee and all that stuff. My husband kind of breaks up my thought process and gives me another perspective. And then you guys give me another, perspective and a balance. And then I spend time on my own. So I'm very well balanced in almost everything. Okay? And so this is something to shoot for, is how do you achieve balance where you're not allowing the parasites to suck the life out of you, whether internally or in your immediate circle. And then you put boundaries. And so that's what I've learned through the protocol. And it's really, and now my life is a lot more peaceful once I got off the activism. So, yeah, let me see what else I was talking about. Oh, that was it. Let's see what else. And I don't like people waving on me on Facebook, private messenger. I don't like that. No, I'm not. Who the heck is this? I don't wave at strangers. Okay. So, because what's the point? If you're on my Facebook, great. Watch my videos. Yeah. So I block on private messenger when I get strangers waving on me. It's like, what? Who are you? It may seem like I'm being snotty, but no, I allow people on my Facebook because I think that they're interested in my information and they want to kind of take part. We may not have mutual friends, so they can't comment. So I give people that option, that if they want to, be part of my Facebook, great, you can comment. So, all right. I'm just looking at my timeline. That's what I'm looking at. Okay. Oh yeah, the whole thing with see now, you guys, with the way our system is going and how mutated our public is, mutated people don't realize how mutated are they until they take things way out of proportion. And I'll tell you what, I fell in the same way too. When I was likening Obama to Hitler, when I was thinking that, all of these federalized programs of all of our resources, we're heading into the new world order to where they're going to be taking us on these trains and these go-karts or whatever, and they're going to take us to the gas chambers and kill us all. Or they're going to take us on these ships, these containers in the middle of the ocean, and then light fire to the ship and then kill everybody. Or the whole thing with the Denver International Airport and all of those bunkers underneath. And yeah, okay, you do see, I guess, I don't know if it's true, if it really is, I haven't really looked, aerial, vision, but has anybody actually taken a plane and went over the Denver International Airport and saw that the configuration of the swastika? I haven't, but all I see is on the internet. But has anyone actually confirmed that that's actually, and I guess, yeah, if you go to Google Earth, and then you can go and do that. But who cares? Who cares? Okay? Believe me, if we end up in a genocidal type of situation, all of humanity will rise up. It won't be just a certain few. It'll be everybody. When every single interest group out there is seeing that they are in imminent danger, everybody, like if there was imminent danger coming down the street, let's say like, oh yeah, we hear that the Russians are coming through Belden Village, and we're like 20 miles away from Belden Village, for example. We would all band together to stop the Russians from coming to us, and we will protect our town. I mean, that's just a hypothetical. So, we're not in any imminent danger to where we have to worry about the Nazis or worry about papers, please, because right now we have obviously very mutated people who are not taking care of themselves, and we have diseases that are mutating, and I don't know, I'm sure that the public health community over there in New York that's putting that whole ban on unvaccinated people being able to attend public functions, I don't know if it rolled out correctly, if that's the way they should handle these people that are not wanting to be vaccinated, but then are highly pathogenic, mutating diseases. So, it's very hard to say exactly what is going to happen with this. And right now with the whole thing with California and SB 277 and the forced vaccinations and this and that, or you're having to require to prove your vaccination or papers, please. Yeah, it could be reminiscent of the Holocaust back then. But you know what? This is time to where you guys who are in the anti-vax world to stop to educate people. And you know what? Here's the thing. It may not happen. It may cut to a point to where the government is going to then require vaccinations for everything and ban people who don't prove that they've been vaccinated. And it's going to come down to that. And then guess what? The system, or nature is going to weed out those that don't know any better. It's going to then do away with people who don't know any better. Okay. And what does that mean? It means that if I have to go get a vaccination because I have to go get my driver's license renewed in like 2020, and I have to prove that I have all these specific vaccines, I'll go do it, and then I'll drink the J juice. I don't like needles, but I'll do what I gotta do. Okay. Because this is the world that we live in. We live in a world of mutated people who are mutating strains and pathogens as we speak. And their government is not going to ask me, well, what is your daily routine? Let me see your health records. Let me see how healthy you are. There is no kind of barometer to see if a person is a candidate for a vaccination if they're already keeping healthy. They're not going to look at that. They don't have time to look at each individual case. So it's up to your doctor to say, okay, but even then now they're putting the smackdown on doctors who are giving medical exemptions for money. Okay. So, it's like at this point now we have a choice. We have J juice. So if you have to get a vaccination, because you have to get a driver's license, or you have to get a passport renewed, or you have to go to school, or you have to do it for an occupation, do the Jilly juice. There is no sense in fighting something that you're not going to win. Okay? There's no sense. J juice, no matter what, will dilute the pathogens that you're already, exposed to anyways. It'll dilute anything excess, and then you'll repair the mutation. And it's probably better that you do, because it's up at this point, J juice is all or nothing. You can be either unhealthy and have to get vaccinated, or you can be very healthy because you got to go on J juice to repair the mutations from the vaccine, and you might as well fix the other mutations that are in your body. So you might as well do J juice. So we're going to see a split in our society. The people who are in J juice, who have no fear, that will do the vaccine because, there's no point. There's a battle that you can't win. Sometimes you have to choose your battles wisely. And this battle with the vaccinations with mutated people, you're not going to win. I already see it, because we see so many mutated people who are so pathogenic. And it's not even the pathogenic. It's also that they are dying from these benign diseases to some people. Some people can handle the measles and get over it. Yeah, there'll be an inflammation and mutate the measles to where there's a 25th strain that they have to get vaccinated for. But other people will have so many mutations that that benign strain of measles that they were exposed to would then cause more damage to them because they don't have a layer of antibody protection to at least fight off some of the strains. That's the whole point of vaccinations. I didn't know that until I actually started doing more research because I was forced to. I still, even when I was submitting my information to the OAG, and this is what I submitted to the OAG, so I still have the vaccine argument in here where I'm against vaccines. Okay, so you'll see my thought process in here when I was against vaccines. But now it's like I get it why they have it, because you can't legislate morals. No different. You can't legislate, you can't tell people to stop drinking. You can't tell people to stop doing drugs. So what do? You have to find a balancing force to then at least give everybody a chance to live in our society and be relatively healthy. Relatively. Okay, and they're not force vaccinating everything. It's just certain things that are like highly communicable, like measles, like the flu. Believe me, I'm not getting the flu shot. But if there is a type of strain of flu that's so egregious and they're like saying, okay, well, it's going around. Do you have any antibodies? But first you get a titer test to see if you've ever been exposed to it. See, I could be exposed to all these things, but how many antibodies would then trigger the positive is in question. Okay, so me being on J juice, I could have been exposed to all these different crazy diseases that there's vaccines for, but my antibody count would probably not trigger positive. So then I'd have to prove that I have the protection by the antibody count, and then that would trigger positive result on a titer test. Because now you see that when you have too many antibodies in your body that agglutinate, that causes more mutations and more diseases. So remember, this is another confirmation that's about balance. Too many antibodies will cause an imbalance and cause more cancer, disease, and chronic illness. Not enough is not enough protection, but it all depends upon your immune system. If you have an overactive immune system, or you don't live in a very pathogenic environment. Well, you live in a very pathogenic environment. So if you don't get sick at all and you're in a very pathogenic environment like Western society, then you have an overactive immune system. That's an imbalance in of itself. That should alarm you. Okay? So get the vaccine if it's required. Don't fight this battle, because what's going to happen is these moms who are going to take a platform, take a stand against their government, their tyrannical government, they're going to have their children taken away. They're going to be thrown in jail, fined, whatever. They're going to have SWAT teams come to their house because they can't exemplify that they know what they're doing with their kid. When you go ask a doctor, oh, you tell a doctor, oh, my kid has this type of, bacterial infection. And then the doctor recommends an antibiotic, and then you don't take the doctor's prescription. You say, no, I'm not going to give my kid this. I'm going to give my kid this. Well, you just exposed yourself to the system. So if you think you know what you're doing and you haven't red flagged the authorities, then do what you got to do. But if that child dies in your care as a mother, then yeah, you are wholly responsible. And that's where people investigate these types of deaths, because we have mothers out there that think they know what they're doing, and they shove all these natural antibiotics into their child, and it kills the child. But when you do J juice, it's not antibiotic. So when you give your child J juice, there is nothing that's going to kill the child with J juice, because it's probiotic, and obviously you drink water. You're not shoving salt down a kid's throat. But we have mothers out there that they're shoving kratom down their kid's throat, shoving cannabis down their kid's throat. They're even giving cannabis to babies in nurseries. So they're going to have that kid under a drug as soon as they're out of the gate. That's a whole tinderbox, Pandora's box, waiting to be opened. Yeah, we have a lot of mothers out there that think they know what they're doing, but they don't. And then they try to prove that they know what they're doing by saying, oh, I'm going to take a stand against this and that. And then, yeah, the authorities are up your ass. And they wonder why. Because if the kid is sick, then they're obviously not exemplifying that they know how to keep sickness away. But then kids come from mutations. Reproduction comes from mutations. I know it's offensive, Believe me, I know there are people that have friends that have kids that don't like the fact that I say reproduction comes from mutations, but that is true. Reproduction does come from mutations. It really does. And there's a few instances that will explain that when somebody is diagnosed with the disease, all of a sudden now they're all fertile and they're pregnant when they couldn't get pregnant before. And they weren't 100% healthy either. But I've seen that actually personally in my life out here in Ohio, where a couple had trouble getting pregnant, going through IVF, going through all this stuff. And then as soon as one of them was diagnosed with a situation, bam, all of a sudden they got pregnant. Makes you wonder. Now you can say, does correlation equal causation? Hey, but there's other examples where people have been in car accidents or been diagnosed with diseases, or they feel their body breaking down, then all of a sudden they're like looking for a husband. And I had the same way. I was looking for a husband a couple of years back because I knew my body was breaking down. I knew I was going down a death trajectory, and I was looking for a mate for survival, as well as, who knows, maybe I want to have a kid because my life is going to end pretty soon, so I might as well leave a legacy, right? That's usually the thinking around, people who want to have children, is that their life is not going to be around very long. They got to leave a legacy. They got to leave another footprint on this earth to carry the name on. But I mean, as much as you hate that term mutation, it's probably the best explanation, the best word that I could use in the context of Jilly Juice. Okay, so yeah, with that whole thing with the vaccines, so I say good luck to all of you that are anti-vaxxers trying to fight against the system when it comes to public health. Good luck. Don't fight battles you can't win. Don't fight, because what they're going to look at is they're going to look at how many cases. And you can't say that these hospitals are making up these cases when they're having people coming in like with psychotic issues from pot. This is where, when the hospitals and the emergency rooms are like the first line, I don't say line of defense, but it's like the first data center and the first, barometer, the pulse of what's going on in that community. So when you have somebody that is taking some drug that is laced with fentanyl and they're going to the ER because of an overdose, and they look and see the fentanyl is in the titer test, and then they see that like countless others are coming in with fentanyl overdoses, that's a public health issue. They got to go and report that. And then the CDC gets wind of what's going on in that community. Hospitals will let the CDC know what is going on. So when you have a huge measles outbreak among unvaccinated people, well, you see a huge influx of people who reject this system, don't want to get vaccines. And I'm not saying that believe me, I can't even imagine myself saying this, but they don't want to get vaccines. Okay, fine, that's your belief system. Then what are you doing to reinforce the nutrition in your kids so they don't get sick? Oh, but they're not doing that. They don't get the vaccine or reinforced nutrition in their kid. And then guess what? They take the kid to the hospital. Now that case gets recorded. Okay? And same thing with pot. When somebody is smoking, like in Colorado, pot has been legalized. There have been a lot of people going to the hospital because of an overdose. I remember smoking pot way back in the 1990s or the 2000s. And it was a very strong strain, and it almost was like a roofie. I felt anxiety, huge anxiety. So it all depends on how it affects you. So yeah, pot, and non-vaccinated people who don't reinforce the nutrition in their kids as well as themselves, all of these other drugs that are out there, it's going to be a public health crisis. So good luck in trying to fight the system when you are already mutated yourself. You're not going to win. Those that are doing J-Juice, reinforcing nutrition, and they realize why it is vaccines exist, and they realize that, drugs are scary, they will be the ones will not have to deal with the government. They're the ones that are free. The ones that are slaves are the mutated people because they don't know. And then they try to think that they know, but they don't. And then they still turn to their government to say, hey, please save me from myself. Oh, it's going to happen. So just watch. And it's going to, I'm telling you, it's going to come to a tipping point. And you're going to see a lot more people with CPS on their case. You're going to see a lot of people that are dealing with CPS and never dealt with it before. Okay? So, choose your battles. If you truly want to get yourself and your kids healthy, 99.99%, because always that 1% of pathogens floating around, doing mutations, but if you're relatively, then you're not going to worry about all the politics that are out there. Just do J juice. Just do J juice. I gave my husband yesterday a smoothie, and I put like a shot of J juice in with the smoothie. Actually, it's probably more than a shot, because I just poured it. Because it was a very thick smoothie. It was like bananas and strawberries. And it was from the freezer. It was like Dole. So yeah, it had citric acid in it, but I'm not going to worry about it. I just poured the juice in there. Okay? So the salt and the lactobacillus and the nutrients are all mixed in. And that's how he drank it. He drank it all. Okay? Now, it's not optimal, but if somebody, has squeamish reaction to the taste and the smell, and like a child or even an adult, give it to him that way. Okay? I mean, really, it's optimal to take it in its most concentrated form. Like what I do, because it's even hard for me, but I'll go out in the deck with my dog and I'll just slam it. And yeah, I'll have an aftertaste for a minute of like pond water. Okay? And then it disappears. And it's all absorbed in my body. I'm getting the benefits. I feel great. I look great. My system is working the way it's supposed to. It's a little bit of uncomfortableness for a major long-term benefit. Okay? I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of pleasure. And then guess what? That five seconds of like, ugh, tastes nasty. Then I can go eat whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. I can, whatever. I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it if you can get to the point of where you see the benefits. If you don't see the benefits of J juice, then no, it's not going to be worth it to you. But you have to be on it long enough, which means you have to intellectualize the science to understand the science, because you'll understand the science hopefully before you actually see the benefit. And you might see the benefit right away. It just depends on your situation. I can't tell you what exactly is going to be addressed first. That's based upon your history and your situation today, and then whatever future triggers, which are the antibodies that are agglutinating as we speak. Okay? I mean, and this is for Kat Gorman, who's just discovering this and now realized that everything that she ever learned in the holistic allopathic industry, she needs to throw away. She's not addicted that I know of to anything to where she has to be on some kind of drug. She realizes that if she wants to see, her life being prolonged and have an amazing acting career or whatever that she's doing out there, okay, she's got to, take one for the team for a minute. She's got to go through the healing symptoms. And it sucks because sometimes, it's like we're so used to instant gratification that something like J juice, which is like could take you a couple of years to really reverse any major issue, but you'll be going through some shit, literally. In the beginning, it's not fun. But just remember, this is what you have to go through. You have to get rid of the shit out of your body, for one. Some people throw up. Some people will have certain reactions to it because they have so many different mutations, and I can't tell you what exactly. So if you do throw up on the protocol, okay, drink it again. Find a way to keep it down. Okay, but maybe when you throw up, you threw up a parasite. You're welcome, Kate. Okay, maybe you threw up a parasite. Maybe, you threw up something like, a worm, which is a parasite. Not to say that I've never threw up on the protocol, but I mean, if I didn't drink enough, I'd have constipation. So that's where digging the shit out was something that I was doing in the beginning, because I didn't realize the waterfalls until somebody gave me a hint and said, hey, I get all these waterfalls. I'm like, why? Oh, because I'm drinking so much. And I got waterfall. I'm like, oh, wow, maybe I should do that. And then I started doing that. Okay. And then that was when I saw more healing. It took me to the next level. Okay. So get the waterfalls. So work on getting the waterfalls. And then, yeah, you may have bladder infections. You may have yeast infections. You may have Your ass may be burning. When you have a bladder infection, put some in your belly button. Okay? When you have a yeast infection, douche with it. When you have a headache, well, sometimes, the juice may not be strong enough. What I use, which I don't, well, yeah, what I used was peppermint oil and water on a washcloth. And then I just put it on my forehead and then went to sleep. Because when you have a major migraine from this, yeah, it sucks. So, you do what you have to do to deal with the healing, because there's no other way to get beyond this healing. There's no other way. You have to deal with it. You can't try to escape it and try to think that you never have to deal with the mutations, whether it's your fault or somebody else's fault, whether it's your parents' fault or your fault. It doesn't matter. It has to be dealt with. And if you don't deal with it, guess what? It'll deal with you. So Billy Hillsborough, you want a friend request me? I'm blocking you. Use the angry face on there. But sometimes you got to deal with the pain to then get to the other side. But if somebody expects to die, then yeah, they'll just have a great life, maybe 20, 30 years of being wonderful in their career. Go get their cannabis and their pills and their powders and their supplements, and they'll do what they do, and that's fine. And then they'll expire in the system and then leave a legacy for everybody, maybe have a bunch of kids. Okay, but guess what? Those kids are mutated. And then the kids will then be taking more poisons. Hey, but it's okay. I mean, the cures, they're tested by the FDA, so it's good for some people, and then the doctor will tell you whether or not you're a candidate for it. So nothing's wrong with it, but that is the choices that we have. You can go play in the system and do the shortcuts and take the poisons that have been allocated by the FDA because that's what you want, or you can do J juice. Because I'm telling you, chemotherapy, like people like Natural News saying like, oh yeah, chemotherapy has killed so many people. Well, yeah, people who are mutated probably can't handle chemotherapy, but they definitely can't handle cannabis either because it's just another poison in a different form. Where's all the data around cannabis people dying? There's people that have died that have done cannabis when they're in hospice or when they were in dealing with cancer. People have turned to the cannabis industry to help cure their cancer, and it didn't work for them. But others it has worked for. So it's still another crapshoot. And then the more mutated you are, we're going to see now more deaths of cannabis because a body, first of all, is already mutated, and it can't handle that influx of all that cannabis THC antibodies. Okay? So, right now, chemotherapy and fluoride and mercury and heavy metals are the demon elements of the day. But I'll tell you what, in the next 50 years, cannabis is going to be the demon drug of the day because it's going to be the one responsible killing a lot of people. Because guess how many people are using cannabis? A lot of people. So statistically, you're going to see correlation equals causation. So the more they promote something like a drug, the more a drug gets more popular, the more it's going to kill. So the reason why people are like, oh yeah, cannabis doesn't kill anybody, because it hasn't been around at this level long enough for you to see that. But chemotherapy has, and now we're seeing the effects of chemotherapy, and we're all demonizing it. But hey, in the next 20 years, we're going to be demonizing cannabis. Okay? So, history does repeat itself. History does. And if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. Just like that guy, Billy Hillsborough. He's a young little surfer. He doesn't know his history. And he'll be doomed to repeat it because guess what? His parents haven't taught him anything as far as history when it comes to the J Jews. They don't know any better. And so they create an offspring that doesn't know any better, doesn't want to take in any new information. And then there you go. That's why history keeps repeating. That's why we haven't really changed too much as a population of humanity. And that's why we're only living to be less than 100. So, all right, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to go put my clothes away and do other stuff. But do the J juice. Take it day by day, Kate Gorman. Just take it day by day. Try to do a quart if you can. Just try to just strain it. So this is for Kate. Strain it. Take the solids if you have a dog or a cat. mix it with their food, or use it on your salad, or use it to seed your next ferment, your 24-hour ferment, and then slam it. Allow enough time in your world to be able to then do the waterfalls. Don't try to make appointments after you're doing the J juice, because let me tell you, every fart's going to be suspect, okay, after you're doing J juice. So you don't want to have an appointment with your employer right after you do J juice, okay? So at least give yourself 3 or 4 hours relative to how much you take. If you take, a quart, then you might be waterfalling, and then you're going to be thirsty. So when you're thirsty, drink water, and that will give you more waterfalls. Okay? And so you'll drink water, and then you'll waterfall again, and then no problem, Atara. And then you'll go back and watch TV or do whatever the hell you do. And then you're thirsty again, you drink water. Oh, you'll waterfall again. Okay? And if you drink and you don't get waterfalls, let's say you drink in a quart, you don't get waterfalls right off the bat, well, you probably will. But if you don't, when you drink water, it'll give you waterfalls. So no matter what, if you drink a quart and you're not thirsty, drink water. And you don't get the waterfalls right off the bat, drink water. Some of you, it will only take like 1 or 2 cups to get waterfalls. Others of you, it may take a lot more, because it depends on how much poop you have in your system. If you have a major poop plug in your body, some of that poop is like so viscous and so like sticky and so nasty that that's very difficult to move without a power force. So if you are feeling bloated and you're doing the J juice, you need to drink a lot more and drink water. Okay? So it's like, at one point when you start feeling like, oh my God, like you're feeling it come up here, well, eventually, the body is going to push the juice down through your intestines and then push all the poop out. Okay? So it just all depends. Yes, the trick is to drink a pint of water about 30 minutes after JJ. Yeah, and that works for Atara. Okay, so yeah, I mean, sometimes you can drink water right after you drink JJ. Other times, so either way, drink water, whether it's 30 minutes or whenever you're thirsty. Because I usually, when I drink a whole bunch, right, a lot in a short amount of time, I'm usually in the bathroom waterfalling. And then I get off the toilet after I waterfall, and then I get thirsty. And I drink water, and then back in the toilet again. And then I'm back in the toilet again every time I drink water. And eventually it stops. Like, you're not going to be thirsty anymore. Okay? But, in the beginning, you're going to have to spend like a weekend figuring out how you're going to fit this in your life. If you ate bread the day before, then you'll have a way harder time to get waterfalls. Sometimes, I guess, yeah, in the beginning, yes. For me, it's not so much. Now that my body is totally on point, I could eat bread and it's fine. I can still get waterfalls. But those of you who are still very mutated and still have a lot of shit in your system, Kevin's probably right. You probably want to stay on the diet. You don't want to eat bread. The bread is not on the diet anyways. But you want to stay on the diet for as much as you can. But if you don't stay on the diet and you do eat bread, which is not on the protocol, then, know that that's what's probably causing your issue, is that you got off the diet. Okay? But everybody has a transition period. All right? So we get that. And just, try to do it in the morning, not so much in the end of the day, in the morning. If you can. If you can't do it in the morning, then that's okay. But if you do it at night, then you'll be waterfalling all night long, because it's hard to say. So better just try this on the weekend, see how it affects you so you can figure out when you can fit it in. Okay? So play with it. Say, okay, Saturday morning, you're going to get up. You're going to be like, okay, I'm going to drink this early this morning. I'm going to just listen to Jillian's video for inspiration, and then I'm going to slam it. I'm going to strain it, and I'm going to slam it, and then you might get a headache right off the bat. You might feel a stomach ache. Okay? There's going to be a lot of things. You're going to feel cramping. Oh, it's going to suck in the beginning until you get your body used to getting those nutrients, because you're upsetting homeostasis. You're going from on a death trajectory to now a life trajectory. So yeah, you're upsetting homeostasis by taking in nutrients. Wake up an hour before you normally get ready. It depends on if you can waterfall in an hour or in the time frame that before you have to go to work. It just depends. Krista already has it figured out because she's been doing this for a while. But if you just did this, if you just started doing this, do it on a weekend when you know you have the time to figure out what is good and how it's going to fit into your life. Okay? So that's my advice. But other than that, you guys just keep doing it. It's a journey. This is not an immediate. This is not big pharma or holistic industry where it's all like instant gratification. No, this is a marathon. This is something that you are going to be doing for a long time, if not forever. Okay? And when you do it, when you finally get to maintenance where I'm at, you won't be doing it as much. So Julie and I, diabetic, drinking water is not a problem, but I do have a tendency to have iron poor, but this waterfall make it worse and make me. No, I mean, you're going to be, Kate, I'm going to answer your question here. You're going to have healing symptoms. When you read my book, it's going to tell you, yeah, you're going to feel lethargic. If you're diabetic, you're going to feel every single thing that you've ever felt when you were sick. Everything. Okay? If you feel dehydrated, you drink water. This is electrolytes. Electrolytes do not dehydrate you. Okay? What dehydrates you is when you are taking a poison that your body is purging and you're not replacing your body with electrolytes. When you go to the hospital because you're so dehydrated, they're giving you a saline bag of dextrose as well as of saline or salt. Okay? So this drink is a probiotic. It is electrolytes. It has everything your body needs. When you waterfall, you'll get thirsty. You'll drink water. But don't focus on drinking so much water. Do it when your body tells you to do it. And yeah, you're going to feel healing symptoms. You're going to feel lethargic. You're going to feel worse. Sometimes these things get worse before it gets better. It's all to be expected. Everything that you feel is going to feel exactly like you felt when you were sick. But remember, pain is healing. So no matter what, whether it's diabetes, lupus, fibromyalgia, cancer, disease, chronic illness, whatever symptom you've ever felt on J-Juice, you will, when you're not on J-Juice, you will feel on J-Juice. You're going to be revisiting every single mutation you've ever dealt with in your whole life. When I had carpal tunnel scare, I had a sore hand for a day. And I had to wear a brace one time when I was in when I was at a job because of the way that I was doing my mouse. I had to get an ergonomically correct chair. Okay? So yeah, so you know, you're going to be revisiting, you're going to go through time on this protocol. And if you choose to get tests in the industry, like testing for your iron, testing your blood, testing this, you're going to see fluctuations in all of your numbers. Those are not a barometer of how well or healthy or unhealthy you are. You're going to have a fluctuation in your biochemistry. So yeah, you can do all your tests, but they're not going to really tell you too much because it depends on the context of what you're taking the test. So if you have a problem with low iron, well, J-Juice is going to then, and the diet and all of this is going to give you all of the components your body needs. You're not going to be focusing on taking iron pills because that's the allopathic holistic way of compartmentalizing and then trying to control all the elements in your body. No, when you take J-Juice, you have iron, you have all the different metals, you have all the different trace minerals, you have all the nutrients, you have everything that your body needs. And then it will disperse it in their prospective places, and then your body will work the way it's supposed to. And not because you're trying to control every aspect. It's because the body now finally is able to tap into the intelligence that it's so sorely needed because you're now finally giving it what it needs. Many people do not understand this, and they go and try to control the process by taking in pills, powders, and supplements and prescription drugs, thinking that they have the control, when actually they're putting themselves more out of control, at more of a disadvantage, more imbalanced. And this is what goes on in the allopathic holistic world. Now, this is not demonizing them. this is what they do. This is their business model. So either you allow your body to actually do what it's supposed to do, and then you understand voluntary and involuntary mechanisms, or you go back in the system and try to control it, and then you try to control it till you're dead. Okay? So, this is why J-Juice is so revolutionary and so different than the allopathic holistic model, and this is why I don't do personal consultations. But occasionally, I will pick and choose a person to help publicly. But you still obviously have the responsibility to understand and not get scared when things that I don't mention to you come to surface. Future triggers, something that you haven't experienced before. Hey, it was about to happen and it hasn't triggered yet. When people fall from autoimmune disorders in their 40s and they never saw a sign of it or of what they say, there were signs all over the place that a person was going to trigger some disease, but they kept ignoring it and they kept taking their drugs and doing whatever. Well, that's antibodies and things coming to surface. That's a future trigger. It's not like the body just decided one day I'm just going to fall over dead. No, it's already a pathogen swimming around in their body. It's antibodies agglutinating and then turning into now a new disease. Okay? So those are future triggers. So you may feel some things that you probably never, I've seen rashes come to surface, the back of my legs, what looked like it could have been roundworm on my, my arm. It was like this rash came and went as fast as it came. It came and went as fast as it whatever. It was gone, okay, in like less than a day. Okay, so, you'll see certain things that come to surface on your body. You're going to have so many different stuff happen, and you're just going to be like, yeah, my body is finally healing. Wow, you're like, wow, I didn't know I had an issue with my tendon. Wow, my back is sore. But here's the thing, don't get so scared and want to question in the community. Well, I mean, you can, that's what the community is there for as far as my website. But if you start agonizing over every single symptom that you experience, this is going to be miserable for you. If you have to question, why is this happening? Why is that happening? Oh my God, did anybody experience this? Oh my God. It's like, no, it's to be expected. Just deal with it. There are some things in your body that you don't even know what's wrong with you until you die. People didn't know that they were going to die from a heart attack until they're dead. They don't even know that they had died from a heart attack because they're dead. But everybody else around them knows. Okay? So, that's why in my book I talk about future triggers. Things that you don't recognize that come to surface. It's something that your body already had the backdoor triggers that were going to come up eventually. And it may not come up at all because another issue would have come up, and then that would have triggered and killed you. And so that antibody would then been there, and it's not going to make a difference. But you could have like 10 issues that could come up and potentially kill you. But maybe there's the one that's stronger. So if you have like, a heart attack in your future, if you have a stroke in your future, if you have, I don't know what else, you could just die instantly. But if you have those two things in your future and one happens to be stronger, and that's an overabundance of certain antibodies that then attack weaknesses in your body, yeah, the body is going to address this. I told my husband last night, I said, Jay, because he's having, some pain in some parts of his body and stuff. And I'm like, Jay, if you do the J juice and you have in your body, just like your body does triage. Okay. So like when you go to a hospital and there's a person that has like their throat is cut, but not fully cut. So they're not totally dead. And then you have like broken legs and you have little lacerations here. Guess what the hospital's going to deal with? They're going to deal with a cut throat person. They're going to deal with the most serious condition that is more life-threatening. So emergency room triage is no different than J-Juice. When you take J-Juice, it's going to want to fix the most aggressive disease, the most severe thing that's in your body. So when you first do J-Juice and you start feeling a pain, that's probably something that could have triggered into something else and become the thing that kills you down the road. Okay? Because that's the most severe condition in your body. So the things that get fixed first or addressed first is what needs to be addressed first, because that's the most serious. Okay, your body is going to prioritize what it needs to address first, because it's not going to try to kill you while it's healing. That's not the point of the body, as well as J-juice. J-juice is an antibiotic. When you're taking antibiotics, that could be the thing that kills you. That's the difference between antibiotic and probiotic. But probiotics have to be the right probiotics, not like kombucha or apple cider vinegar, because kombucha is fermented sugar, feeds the cancer, and apple cider vinegar is fermented ethanol. It's antibiotic. It's acetic acid. Okay, so it has to be the right probiotic. But with J-juice, it's not antibiotic at all. So it'll never be the one to contribute to your death, ever, if you happen to die. All right, so if a person is on J-juice that happens to die, they're probably in hospice, and the body just couldn't handle. The body isn't getting enough of the nutrients, and the person probably got off it. You see, because that's the thing that happened with Bruce Wilmot. He was on it for a minute, then got off it because the pain was too much. So he didn't die on J-juice per se. It was a fact that he didn't stay on J-juice and dealt with the pain. But you can't tell that to all of his friends and family because they don't understand antibiotics versus probiotics. Okay, so, when you deal with J-juice, it's going to fix and deal with the most serious thing first. And so if you have toothaches, or if you have backaches, or you have heart conditions and all these different things, you know what? Do J-juice, because J-juice will definitely take care of the most serious condition. And I don't even remember what I dealt with in the beginning when it came to J-juice. I think, you know what it was? Yeah, it was a yeast infections. And then guess what? When I had that that rash that came to surface from when I was a kid, which could have been lymphoma, that probably, the yeast infections and that lymphoma probably had a relationship with each other. If I would have kept on the same trajectory a couple years ago, not did J-juice, not even invent it or anything, I probably would have had some reproductive issues. I probably would have had some type of cervical cancer that would have been in my future, or some kind of lymphatic disease. So I dodged a lot of bullets being on my own protocol. Dodged a lot of bullets, but I had to understand what was going on with my body. And that's why I use the term healing symptoms. So that way you're not getting alarmed that J-juice is killing you. No, it's not. It's not antibiotic. It's a probiotic. And so what you're dealing with is already the mutations in your body that are getting addressed. Okay. So yeah, Krista, I'm sure you felt like you dodged a stroke. My dog dodged a stroke. She dodged a stroke. She dodged hip dysplasia, because that is the pit bull's predisposition, genetic predisposition. So my dog had a week where she couldn't hardly walk up the stairs. Like, she had her tail between her legs for about a week, struggling to get up even the stairs to go to the bathroom in my other house. And then she had a weird manifestation, looked like a stroke, where I can see her tongue was like flopping back and forth one night. And I felt her body go rigid for a minute. And she wasn't actively doing the J-juice. I was just giving her the J-juice here and there. It wasn't like I was giving her a lot, but it was just like, but she was going through the body was healing. Her body was healing. And now and before she used to get allergic reactions to certain foods and have these like red lines that go down her neck and all over, red splotches all over her skin. And her fur was really just like tough and matted. Not matted because she's a short hair, but it was really just rough and like a brush. And then she had a fatty tumor that every change of the season, it would get inflamed. And I used to go get colloidal silver and all these antibiotic stuff and castor oil and do these castor oil packs on her to try to like kill the infection and all this stuff and try to give her, and I'm like, oh my God. And so I finally got away from the holistic world, started giving her the J-juice, started taking the J-juice. Her fatty tumor has gone down to almost nothing. Her skin and her coat and her fur and everything, she's like a new puppy. Okay. So you're going to be, and this is like about a year into this. Okay. So you're going to be going through different stuff, but the body is not going to kill you. You may have some some of you may have narcolepsy or other types of, I don't know. Grand mal, like seizures. Now, when you have seizures, this is a hard thing with seizures. It's like I've been told and I've read that salt actually helps seizures. It stops the seizures from becoming too much. So I don't see a person dealing with seizures on the J juice as far as a healing symptom, but I can't promise you. So, the body is not going to go and try to kill you while it's healing. But if you do feel, and you'll know the signs, if you do feel anything that seems like something, and you need to be under doctor's care. If you're doing J juice and you have all these different seizure problems, you need to let your doctor know what's going on. You need to let people around you know what's going on. I mean, if you shouldn't be driving anyways if you have seizure issues. That shouldn't be something that you be doing. I mean, I'm thinking if you've been diagnosed with a seizure problem, I'm sure they've taken your license away because they don't want to risk the public health with somebody who's having a seizure behind the wheel. So if you've been diagnosed with seizures, chances are you're not going to be driving. You're going to be at home, or you're going to have a car, or you're going to have, Uber or somebody drive you to wherever. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. So do the J juice and then let your people know what's going on, that you're doing J juice. And if you really truly believe in it, give them the book, and then when we get our other book written and published, then give them that book to then calm the fears of the people around you in your life. So that way they know that you're not going to die. There's nothing deadly about J juice. You just got to deal with the symptoms. You just got to. Okay? So that's how I deal with the whole thing with the seizures. If you've been diagnosed as, with seizures, you shouldn't be driving anyways. Especially, you shouldn't be. Because that is dangerous for everybody around you. So other than that, that's all I have. Okay, so that's my advice for Kate Gorman. Okay, Kate? So hopefully other people will listen to this advice and apply it to their own situation. And I made it as general as I can, so that way this applies to everybody. And if you still have major questions, then get the book and then ask the questions in our discussion forum. But I do these transmissions every day just to kind of drop seeds of just the bigger picture, and then I'll get into some of the characteristics of the protocol. Okay? And it keeps me well-oiled in this, and it keeps you guys engaged and motivated. And then, we're looking to change the world. Okay? And you're welcome, Kate. And you're going to be that example for everybody around you. And so I'm very, very happy that you'll be that pioneer in your world. So thank you for taking this on, because it does start and end with all of you. It really does. If you know about J juice and you don't do it, and you see the devastation around you, you are responsible, because this protocol ends and starts with you. So don't let it end with you. Let it start with you, and let it get out there. Give your friends and family and your audience a chance to understand this information. But it all depends on how well you understand it, because if you don't understand it, then you'll not convey it correctly. Okay? And then Krista says, first day on JJ, I had a massive stab in my head, lasted 20 seconds, and my speech started getting better and less stroke symptoms. Out of the year, and I've been on J juice straight, I've only had 2 days of head pain. The other week it lasted 35 minutes, and it was super severe. I couldn't even stand or walk. I'm gonna post this on my wall. Good job, Krista. Good job. She switched to kale, and I'm not plateaued anymore. Okay, very good, very good. All right, very good. Yeah, read her comment, you guys, and I'll put this as a testimony on my wall, but I won't tag you. Okay, Krista. All right, so you guys have a good day. Do the J juice, and I can't wait to see your videos, Krista. And just take it day by day. You have nothing to lose. If death is already in your future because you already believe in death, because that's the current thought process, then you have nothing to lose. So once you make your book, that's awesome, Krista. Very good. Very good. Yeah, once you figure out that J juice is an antibiotic, then you have nothing to lose. All you got to do is modify your schedule for the next year or so you can put the time into healing. When people are so full of social commitments and so full of activities and events, they ignore their body. When you're so full of activism, you ignore your body. And then guess what? Death is imminent. then you'd have a reason to be upset. But not because of what's going on out there. It's because you ignored your body, because you're too busy with your job, too busy with everything, too busy with your activism. You failed to see the writing on the wall, and that's in your own house. All right. All right. So thanks a lot for listening. You guys have an amazing day. Bye.